ancient Chinese and Japanese have always been known for their art forms. Imaginative as they were, they experimented and developed different mediums. And silk screen printing, as it was originally called, was one of them. Screens were made using human hair and designs created using dry leaves and elaborate brush strokes. Today, the creation of designs, stencils and screens has come a long way, even as the art form itself traveled across the continents. Most forms of printing require the easy availability of fresh water, and when the printing processes spread across to India, Srirampur, by the banks of the Hooghly River in Bengal, perhaps provided the perfect setting. A walk through the bylanes of Srirampur would reveal that over time it has become a hub of various printing activities, silk screen and block printing being the most prevalent. People like Mausuddin Mullah are not an uncommon sight in these parts, gently chiseling out the ideas and imaginations of artists who contribute towards the creation of the much larger or inspiring canvas. Master printers with generations of expertise behind them settled here conducting their trade, unfortunately in a most unorganized manner. The lack of facilities and finance keeping them in a state of penury. CRC stepped in with the objective of assisting these small producers develop their wares and finding fair trade buyers for their products, restoring the artist's sense of achievement and pride by providing not just the economic stability they needed, but also the nurturing environment that is so necessary for creativity to flourish, thereby helping to preserve traditional handicrafts and art forms that were in danger of disappearing. About a decade ago, CRC identified a talented colour master named Umesh Chandra Swain in Srirampur, working under extremely harsh conditions. His subsequent engagement with CRC has not only promoted his talent, which was largely wasted in the unorganized screen printing sector, but also sensitized him on eco-friendly procedures. Today, the fabric he uses all come from organically grown cotton, and the dyes are non-toxic, compliant with the strictest international standards. Gradually, Swain has become an integral part of the screen printing team, from the choosing of designs and colors to the final execution of the printed material.
তো আমি 24 বছর আগে শ্রীরামপুরে এসেছিলাম কাজের খোঁজে। তো কালার কাজ শিখে সেখান থেকে 3-4 জায়গায় ঘুরে ফিরে 5 বছর এইদিক ওইদিক করে কাজ শেখার পরে নিজে 10-12 বছর ধরে এই কারখানা ওই কারখানায় কাজ করেছে। তো লাস্ট 10-12 বছর আমি এক কারখানায় কাজ করতাম, সেখানে ইরানি দিয়ে আসতেন। আসার ফলে আমার সাথে ওনার পরিচিত হওয়ার পরে আমি লাস্ট 2 বছর আগে ভাবলাম যে নিজে কিছু করব। তো নিজে কিছু করতে গিয়ে তো বললে তো শুধু হয় না, তার জন্য টাকা পয়সার কিছু প্রয়োজন হয়, কিছু কাজেরও প্রয়োজন হয়, যেটা দিদির সাথে আলোচনা করার পরে দিদি বলল যে তুই যদি কনফিডেন্স থাকে, তুই যদি নিজে করতে পারিস, যা হেল্প লাগবে আমি পুরোটাই করব। তো ওনার হেল্পে আজকে আমি 2 বছর ধরে একটা ছোটোখাটো ইউনিট চালাচ্ছি। তার মধ্যে আমার সাথে আমার ফ্যামিলি যেরকম চলে সেরকম আর 20-25 জন কাজ করে, তাদেরও সেইভাবে চলে। ওরা সবাই আমার সাথে ভালো থাকে। তো এর জন্য সিআরসিকে আমি অনেক ধন্যবাদ জানাই যে আমাকে আজকে বাইরে এখান থেকে ওখান থেকে কাজ করার চেয়ে নিজের একটা জায়গা তৈরি করে দেওয়ার জন্য।
The screen printing process begins with the creation of the design. Like in almost every field today, technology has made inroads into this printing process as well. Softwares like Photoshop and CorelDRAW are becoming increasingly popular for the more geometric designs. The high-resolution printouts being used directly for the screen production. But when it comes to the intricacies of some original Indian designs, the human touch and feel holds its own. These painters and designers have kept alive many traditional motifs, handed down the generations, some based on religious philosophies, others on myths and even fantasies. An exercise that requires not just comprehending the concepts, but great dexterity and precision in executing them accurately. After all, the accuracy of each brush stroke, each line, every dot on a picture, all contribute to the story conceived by the designer. Screens were originally made of silk, but now they are made of finely woven polyester mesh. The pins embedded on the outer guide frame enable the craftsman to stretch the material tightly across the main frame. The edges are then fixed with adhesive to ensure that the material remains firmly attached to the frame. The screen is coated with a light-sensitive emulsion, spread evenly across the material in a darkroom. Once dry, the screen is ready for the exposure. In order to get the correct exposure, the screen needs to be flat against the design. And what better way than to use a sack of pebbles evenly distributed across the screen, ensuring the direct contact between the screen and the design. After exposure, the screens are immersed in a tub of water for a while, where the exposed portions of the emulsion are washed away. A jet of water removes the more stubborn bits. A keen eye for flaws and a steady hand to rectify them. Armed with a fine brush and some opaque paint, people like Prashantoshi contribute substantially towards the perfect screen. Any breaks in the print are meticulously touched up. Equally interesting is the little wet bandage softening the emulsion on one side and sharpening the edges by removing the unrequired emulsion on the other with a fine scraper. Following this quality control procedure, the printed screens are further strengthened with strips of fabric and adhesive and reinforced with another coat of paint. Yet another coat of emulsion, known as CS5, to strengthen the prints on the screen. Before the final air drying, which makes the screen ready for printing. The number of screens required depends on the number of colors in the design. Each screen represents one color, and all of them must, to the last millimeter, perfectly align with one another, so as not to result in any color overlaps in the final product. The test run with colored chalk dust is a quick and easy method to assess and confirm the perfect alignment of the various screens of a particular batch. Meanwhile, color mixing is a very important part of the printing process, and the only way to ensure that every piece of any particular design is exactly the same as the previous one. Precise measurements and the knowledge of mixing is mandatory.
আমাদের লাইনে মেন জিনিস হচ্ছে কালার মিক্সিং। যেরকম আমি কিছুক্ষণ আগে মাপলাম 4000 মিলিগ্রাম, ওইটা একদম অ্যাকুরেট, যতবার মাপবো ততবার 4000 মিলিগ্রাম হবেই। আর ওইটাই যতক্ষণ অ্যাকুরেট থাকবে ততক্ষণ কালার যত আমরা প্রিন্ট করব ওই অ্যাকুরেট সেটই থাকবে।
His years of experience and attention to detail ensure that each new batch of colors is exactly as per the design. Bales of the material which are to be printed are cut to measure and prepared for printing. A thorough cold wash is followed by one in boiling hot water to remove all traces of starch before it is hung out to air dry. Once dry, the material is stretched out and fixed on long wooden tables with a wax top onto which it gets bonded, temporarily but firmly, ensuring that it does not shift during printing. Paraffin wax and micro wax are used in summer and winter respectively. Their different melting points maintaining the optimum softness required for the adhesion of the cloth. After each screen is placed in position, the relevant color or dye is applied. It is poured at one end and dragged evenly across the screen with a rubberized squeegee, leaving a thin film of dye on the cloth beneath. This process is followed for each color till the design is complete. Once the printing is over, the cloth is examined for precision and accuracy and allowed to air dry. The printed fabrics are then sandwiched between two sheets of plain cloth and then rolled into bales before the next step, which is steaming. The indigenously developed diesel-fired steamer typically takes about an hour and a half to complete the process. The steaming process helps fix the dyes firmly on the fabric. A detergent bath once again to remove any excess color particles before being hung out to air dry. In the meantime, an earlier batch of blue silk material has already dried and is ready for the next stage, which is polishing. A strange polishing setup indeed for the uninitiated. But for these two young brothers, all the way from Bihar, Kundi polishing, an almost dying art form now, is a way of life. Much akin to the modern-day beetling process, where the fabric revolves around a drum and is pounded by hammers. The yarns of the silk fabric are flattened, giving it a smooth and lustrous finish. An equally intriguing technique is the ironing, which adds to the glaze. And after passing through a somewhat remarkable journey, the samples arrive at CRC for inspection. The products are very closely examined by the CRC team to confirm that the colors and designs are as per the originals and free of any flaws in the workmanship. Every step is taken to ensure that not a single design or batch scheduled for delivery is left unattended to. After all, each little step of ours towards precision and finesse provides our clients with the assurance of superior quality products, while supporting our own vision of achieving sustainability of the art forms, and of course, the environment and the societies of the artisans we work with.